The morning started like any other at Lakeside Middle School. Students filled the hallways with laughter, backpacks slung over their shoulders, the usual rush before first period. Among them walked Alyssa Seagal, a quiet but confident 13-year-old girl with long, silky black hair that reached almost to her waist. Her hair wasn't just hair, it was a part of her identity. Her father, Steven Seagal, had taught her to keep it long as a symbol of discipline, patience, and cultural roots. Every strand carried a memory. Alyssa didn't flaunt who her father was. Most students knew, but she never acted like she was special. Today, she wore her hair in a neat braid, tied with a simple band. She smiled as she walked with her friend Mia, talking about an upcoming art project. But the moment they turned the corner, the air shifted. Standing near the office door, arms crossed tightly, was Principal Harrow, a strict woman known for her harsh rules and even harsher punishments. Her eyes immediately locked onto Alyssa's braid. "You," she snapped, pointing sharply. "Come here." Alyssa froze. Mia whispered nervously, "Just ignore her, maybe she's not talking to you." But Principal Harrow's heels clicked loudly as she closed the distance. "I've warned students repeatedly about violating dress code," the principal said coldly. "And this," she grabbed Alyssa's braid abruptly, "is unacceptable." Alyssa's breath caught. "Ma'am, my hair isn't against any rule. It's distracting. Too long. Unsafe. Choose whichever excuse you want. It still needs to be corrected." Before Alyssa could respond, the principal reached into her pocket and pulled out a pair of scissors. Students nearby gasped. Alyssa stepped back in shock. "Please don't, my dad. This hair is important to me." Principal Harrow's voice sharpened. "Your father isn't here, and rules are rules." Then, with zero hesitation, snip, a large section of Alyssa's braid fell to the floor. Alyssa's eyes filled instantly. Her hand trembled as she touched the uneven, jagged hair left behind. Mia screamed, "You can't do that. That's assault." Whispers exploded through the hallway. Phones were pulled out. Students stared, stunned, furious, horrified. The principal only dusted her hands and said, "Maybe now you'll follow the rules." Alyssa, shaking, picked up the cut braid and held it against her chest. No one knew what would happen next, but everything would change soon, because Steven Seagal was about to arrive. The hallway was silent for a full 3 seconds, the kind of silence that happens only after something truly shocking. Alyssa stood completely still, clutching the severed braid against her chest like something precious ripped away from her. Her breathing quickened. Her eyes were glassy, but she refused to break down in front of the principal. Students stared in disbelief. Mia stepped in front of Alyssa, her voice shaking with fury. "Principal Harrow, you can't do that. You can't just cut someone's hair." The principal held her chin high, acting like she had done something heroic. "It's my job to enforce school policy, whether students like it or not." A boy shouted from the back, "That's not policy. You can't touch a student like that." Another student whispered loudly, "I recorded everything." At that, Principal Harrow's eyes twitched, a tiny flicker of fear, but she quickly masked it with arrogance. "Anyone posting unauthorized videos will face disciplinary action," she snapped. But the students weren't scared anymore. They were angry. Alyssa finally spoke, her voice breaking. "You didn't have to do that. You didn't even ask my mom or my dad." The principal shrugged. "Your father isn't relevant here. This is my school. My rules." Alyssa swallowed hard. "You don't understand this hair." "I don't need to understand," Harrow interrupted sharply. "Now go to class and fix yourself up." Alyssa's heart crumbled. Fix herself up? After having a piece of her identity chopped off? After being humiliated in front of dozens of students? She turned away without another word. Mia rushed to her side. "Come on, let's go to the restroom." As they walked, students parted like a wave, watching Alyssa with a mix of sympathy and burning anger. Phones remained pointed, and every step Alyssa took, her hand stayed on that severed braid, like losing it meant losing a piece of who she was. The moment the restroom door closed, Alyssa collapsed onto the sink counter. The tears she'd been holding back finally spilled. Mia hugged her tightly. Alyssa, I'm so sorry. That woman is insane. Alyssa shook her head. My dad always told me, our hair carries energy, discipline, history. She wiped her face. He taught me to respect myself. And her voice cracked again. Mia clenched her fists. Your dad needs to know. He won't let this slide. But Alyssa hesitated. What if he gets angry? Really angry? Good, Mia snapped. He should be angry. Before Alyssa could reply, her phone buzzed. 2, 3, 5 notifications. Students were already sending her videos from the hallway. One text stood out. Do you want me to call your dad? From her older brother. Alyssa stared at it for a long moment. Then she whispered, Yes, please. Tell him everything. News spread like wildfire. Students gathered in groups, replaying the video. Teachers whispered quietly, unsure how to react. Mr. Lang, one of the kinder teachers, confronted the principal near the office door. Principal Harrow, please tell me there's some misunderstanding. You didn't actually cut that girl's hair, did you? Harrow brushed him off. I did what needed to be done. That hairstyle violated Rule 4B, 7, subsection. 4B, 7 says no extreme colors, he interrupted. Not length. Principal Harrow stiffened. Well, it was still a distraction. To who? Mr. Lang shot back. The girl barely talks to anyone. Harrow's voice became icy. If you disagree, you're welcome to file a formal complaint. But I acted within my authority. A group of students standing nearby muttered. Authority? That was assault. She's going to get fired for this. Does she not know who Alyssa's dad is? Principal Harrow heard them, and suddenly, doubt flickered again. But it was too late. A black SUV screeched into the school parking lot. A tall student who saw it rushed inside yelling, He's here. He's here. Steven Seagal is here. The entire hallway buzzed instantly, a mix of excitement, fear, and anticipation. Principal Harrow froze mid-step. What? She whispered. The student nodded, eyes wide. Someone called him. He's on campus right now. For the first time that day, the principal's face went pale. She sat on the counter, trying to regain control over her breathing. Mia stood beside her like a guard. Alyssa, another friend, rushed in. Your dad's here. Alyssa's eyes widened. She felt relief and dread all at once. What do I do? She whispered. You go see him, Mia said gently. He needs to know you're okay. Doors opened. Students spilled out. Everyone looked toward the main entrance. And then, like a storm made of calm fury, Steven Seagal walked through the doors. Black coat, stone-hard expression, silent, focused, deadly calm. Every student stepped aside. Teachers froze. The principal stared in terror. Steven Seagal didn't look left or right. He came for one person, his daughter. And when he saw her ruined hair, everything changed. The moment Steven Seagal stepped into the school hallway, something changed in the air. Students whispered his name like a warning carried on the wind. That's him. Oh my God, Steven Seagal is actually here. He looks pissed. But Seagal didn't hear any of it. His boots hit the floor with slow, deliberate steps. His face remained expressionless, but the tension in his jaw revealed the storm building beneath the surface. Mr. Lang, the gentle teacher, stepped forward nervously. Mr. Seagal, she's in the restroom. She's shaken up, but she's safe. Seagal simply nodded. Thank you, he said, his voice low and calm, the kind of calm that makes the room colder. Principal Harrow stood frozen across the hall, clutching a folder like a shield. For the first time, she looked unsure of herself. Mr. Seagal, she began, forcing confidence into her voice. I'm sure we can discuss. But Seagal walked right past her without even acknowledging her existence. Students gasped. Teachers exchanged glances. Harrow's face reddened. Alyssa sat quietly on the counter, staring into the mirror at the uneven section where her hair once flowed. She touched the jagged ends gently, wincing, as if the scissors had sliced her spirit as much as her hair. Mia stood guard beside her, arms folded, ready to fight the world if she had to. "You okay?" she whispered. Alyssa didn't answer. Her eyes glistened again. I feel so stupid. Why did she do that? I didn't break any rule." "You didn't," Mia said firmly. "She did." A sudden knock on the door interrupted them. Not a normal knock, a heavy, powerful thud. "Alyssa." The voice was unmistakable. Alyssa's heart leapt. "Dad." She slid off the counter and hurried toward the door. When she opened it, there he stood, Steven Seagal, her father, her protector. He looked at her hair, and the world seemed to stop. Alyssa lowered her eyes instantly, ashamed. "Daddy." "I tried to tell her. I told her not to." Her voice wavered. Seagal gently placed his hand under her chin and lifted her face so she had to look at him. His expression softened, but only for her. "You don't ever lower your head for anyone," he said quietly. "Do you understand?" Alyssa nodded, a tear rolling down her cheek. He took the severed braid from her hand, holding it like something sacred. His eyes darkened, something primal rising behind them. "Who did this?" he asked. Alyssa swallowed. "The principal." A long silence followed, the kind that vibrates through the walls. Mia stepped forward bravely. "She didn't just cut it, sir. She humiliated her. In front of everyone." Seagal turned toward the hallway, his shoulders straightening, his aura hardening like steel. The students outside instinctively stepped back. "Stay here," he said to Alyssa. "You're safe now." Principal Harrow stood near her office door, pretending to shuffle papers, but her hands were trembling. Teachers lingered at a distance, pretending to look busy but unable to take their eyes off what was about to unfold. Seagal approached her with slow, measured steps. "Principal Harrow," he said. She tried to straighten her posture. "Mr. Seagal, yes. I was actually going to call you." "Don't lie," he said calmly. The tone wasn't loud. It wasn't angry, but it sliced through her words like a blade. Harrow's mouth snapped shut. Seagal reached into his coat and pulled out Alyssa's severed braid. He held it up between them. "Explain this," he said. The principal's face flushed. Her hair was in violation of school. "No," he cut her off. "I've read your policies. There is nothing in your rules that allows you to touch a child, to cut her hair, to put scissors near her body." He stepped closer. Harrow stepped back. "This is not discipline," Seagal continued. "This is not authority. This is assault." The hallway fell silent. Every student watched. Principal Harrow tried to regain composure. I was addressing a safety concern." Seagal leaned in slightly, his voice dropping into a whisper cold enough to freeze blood. "The only safety risk in this school today is you." Harrow's jaw trembled. Students murmured among themselves, filming quietly from behind lockers and corners. "She's done. Seagal's gonna destroy her. She better start packing her desk." Mr. Lang approached cautiously. "Mr. Seagal, I witnessed part of the incident. The students have recordings." The principal acted without protocol, without parental consent, and without legitimate cause. Another teacher added, "She's been exceeding her authority for months." Harrow glared at them. "You're both out of line." Seagal raised a hand slightly, and they stopped talking, not out of fear, but out of respect. "The truth," Seagal said, "has a way of coming out. And today it already has." Harrow swallowed hard. "This is all being blown out of proportion. I didn't know she was your daughter." Seagal's eyes narrowed. "So if she were anyone else's daughter," he said slowly, "you think it would be acceptable?" Harrow stepped back again, this time hitting the wall behind her. "No, that's not what I meant." Seagal's stare hardened. "Children deserve respect. My daughter, every student in this school, and you will answer for what you did." At that moment, the vice principal rounded the corner, breathless. "Mr. Seagal, the school board has been notified. They've seen the video." The principal's face turned chalk white. "And they're on their way," he added. Students erupted into hushed excitement. Steven Seagal quietly placed his daughter's braid into his coat. "The day is far from over," he said. and the real consequences were just beginning. The school board's black SUV pulled into the parking lot faster than anyone expected. Students crowded near the windows, whispering anxiously. They're really here. Principal Harrow is done. Seagal's not leaving without justice. Inside the hallway, Steven Seagal stood silent and still, like a warrior waiting for the next move. Alyssa had joined him now, standing close, her hand gripping his sleeve. She looked small next to his towering frame, but the steadiness of his presence wrapped around her like armor. Mia hovered protectively beside her, ready to back her up at any moment. Principal Harrow, meanwhile, paced rapidly near her office door, her breathing uneven. She kept glancing at the entrance, hoping, desperately, that the board would defend her. But deep down, she knew the truth was already against her. Moments later, 3 board members entered the building. Leading them was Mrs. Caldwell, a stern woman with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She walked with the steady determination of someone who had seen too many scandals to be intimidated by one more. She scanned the hallway quickly, finally settling on Seagal. "Mr. Steven Seagal," she said, extending her hand. He gave a small nod. "Mrs. Caldwell, we received multiple reports and video footage," Caldwell continued. "We're here to investigate immediately." Her gaze shifted to Alyssa. The moment she saw the uneven, jagged ends of the girl's hair, her lips pressed together tightly. "Principal Harrow," Caldwell called. Harrow straightened her jacket, forcing a confident smile as she approached. "Yes, Mrs. Caldwell. I'm glad you arrived so quickly. There seems to be a misunderstanding." "We'll determine that," Caldwell interrupted sharply. The color drained from the principal's face. Students formed a massive half circle around the hallway. Teachers stood behind them, some anxious, some relieved. Mr. Lang stepped forward. "Mrs. Caldwell," he said, voice steady. "I was present during part of the incident." The principal confiscated scissors from an art student and moments later used those scissors to cut Miss Seagal's hair without any proper cause. Mia quickly added, "She didn't warn her. She didn't ask. She just grabbed her braid and chopped it off." Alyssa didn't even break a rule. Mrs. Caldwell nodded, taking notes. Alyssa swallowed, stepping forward timidly. "She humiliated me," she whispered. "Everyone saw. I didn't do anything wrong." Her voice quivered, and she leaned slightly into her father. Seagal rested a hand on her shoulder. "You're safe," he murmured. Harrow tried to regain control. "This is being exaggerated," she said. "The student handbook states clearly that hair length must be manageable, and hers was." Mrs. Caldwell cut her off again. "We reviewed the handbook on our way here. There is no rule limiting hair length, and certainly no rule allowing a staff member to cut a student's hair." Harrow blinked rapidly. Well, it was a safety hazard. Her hair was long enough to get caught in equipment. "This school has no machinery that poses that kind of risk," Caldwell said, voice rising slightly. "You are reaching Principal Harrow." Students murmured loudly in agreement. Harrow's eyes darted around, searching desperately for anything to cling to. "I was trying to maintain order," she insisted. Her hair was distracting. Mia scoffed loudly. "Distracting to who? She sits quietly and minds her business." A ripple of laughter moved through the students, but it wasn't disrespectful, just honest. Seagal stepped forward then, slowly, deliberately. "Her hair," he said in a low, controlled voice, "was part of her identity. You took something from her, something you had no right to touch." Harrow swallowed, but Seagal wasn't finished. "You didn't discipline her. You violated her." The hallway fell into dead silence. Even the air stopped moving. Mrs. Caldwell turned to the crowd. "Anyone who witnessed the event, please raise your hand." Nearly 40 hands shot into the air. Caldwell's expression hardened. "Please step aside in groups. We'll take statements one at a time in the conference room." Harrow stiffened. "Mrs. Caldwell, is that really necessary?" "Yes," she said firmly. "Everything will be documented." A flood of students began forming a line. Some held their phones with recorded footage ready. Others had written statements. Harrow's shoulders sagged as she realized how badly the situation had spiraled. Students weren't scared of her anymore. They were eager to be heard. Caldwell crouched slightly, so she was eye level with Alyssa. "Sweetheart, would you be comfortable telling us what happened in your own words?" Alyssa looked at her father, hesitating. Seagal nodded gently. "Go ahead. I'm right here." Taking a steadying breath, Alyssa began. "I was walking to class. The principal stopped me in the hallway and told me my hair was inappropriate. I said it wasn't against the rules. She grabbed the back of my braid. I told her to please stop. She didn't listen. Tears welled in her eyes, but she pushed through. She just cut it, just like that. And everyone laughed. I felt so embarrassed." Caldwell placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Thank you, dear. You were very brave." Alyssa nodded weakly, then leaned back against Seagal. Harrow's voice trembled now. "This is being blown out of proportion. She's Seagal's daughter. Of course it looks dramatic." Mrs. Caldwell snapped her notebook shut. "This is not about who her father is," she said sharply. "This is about misconduct, abuse of authority, and a breach of student safety." Harrow's jaw dropped open, but words refused to form. "The verdict begins to form." Caldwell turned toward the teachers. "We will be requesting camera footage from the hallway." Mr. Lang nodded. "Already queued for you." Caldwell gave an approving nod. "Good." Harrow's face paled. Seagal stepped forward once more, his voice quiet but deadly clear. "Mrs. Caldwell," he said, "my only expectation is that no other child is ever treated this way again." "You have my word," she replied. She turned to Harrow. "Principal Harrow, effective immediately." Everyone leaned forward. The principal's fate hung in the air, and everything was about to change. Principal Harrow's knees seemed to lock as Mrs. Caldwell turned to her with an expression that carried both authority and disappointment. The hallway was silent, so silent that even the hum of the overhead lights felt loud. "Principal Harrow," Caldwell said clearly, "effective immediately." Harrow straightened, bracing herself. "You are suspended pending a full investigation by the district board." Gasps echoed across the hall. Some students clapped instinctively before stopping themselves. Alyssa's breath hitched, and she tightened her grip around her father's arm. Harrow shook her head rapidly. "Suspended? You can't be serious. I've been principal here for 9 years. 9 years too long." A student muttered under their breath, earning a few quiet snickers. Mrs. Caldwell maintained her stern expression. "This decision is based on evidence, testimonies, and the severity of what we witnessed here today. Until we conclude our investigation, you are not allowed on school grounds." Harrow's voice cracked. "You can't do this. You're letting them ruin my career." Seagal finally spoke, his voice low and unervingly calm. "You ruined your own career when you laid a hand on my daughter." Harrow flinched. "This is because she's your daughter. If she were anyone else." "Exactly," Seagal said sharply. "If she were anyone else, she wouldn't have protection. That's the problem, isn't it?" Murmurs rose through the students. The teachers exchanged glances. Many of them had long held concerns about Harrow's behavior, but had been too afraid to challenge her authority. Now the fear was gone. Harrow's eyes darted around desperately. "Mrs. Caldwell, you know how teenagers exaggerate. You know they manipulate situations. You can't trust them." Caldwell raised a hand sharply. "Enough." Her voice cut through the hallway like a blade. "You assaulted a minor. You humiliated a student in front of peers. And you violated district policies by using confiscated scissors to alter a student's appearance without consent." She paused, letting the words sink in. "This is not a misunderstanding. This is misconduct." Harrow's breathing turned shallow. Her voice shrank to a whisper. I didn't mean to hurt her. I just wanted discipline." "Discipline isn't brutality," Seagal said, eyes burning. "Discipline is control, respect, honor. Things you know nothing about." The principal looked away, her face flushed with shame. The walk of shame. Mrs. Caldwell motioned to a security guard standing at the end of the hall. Escort Principal Harrow to her office. She may collect essential belongings only, then escort her off school grounds. Students parted like a wave as Harrow, trembling, began her slow walk toward her office. Every step echoed like a drumbeat. Phone cameras rose, not out of mockery, but to capture accountability. Harrow avoided every pair of eyes. Her once authoritative stride was gone, replaced by the defeated shuffle of someone who had finally been exposed. Mia muttered under her breath, "Karma's real." Alyssa didn't smile. She watched the principal with a quiet sadness. "I didn't want this," she whispered. "I just wanted her to stop." Seagal placed a gentle hand on her head, careful not to touch the uneven ends. "Justice isn't revenge," he said softly. "Today, justice is simply truth." When Harrow disappeared into her office, Mrs. Caldwell turned to Alyssa. "On behalf of the entire school district," she said, voice softer than before, "I want to apologize for what happened to you today." Alyssa nodded quietly. "No student should ever be treated the way you were," Caldwell continued. "We will make sure this never happens again." Seagal bowed his head slightly. "Thank you." Caldwell sighed deeply. "We'll also provide counseling support, and if you choose, we can arrange a professional stylist to help fix the cut." The moment those words left her mouth, Alyssa's eyes filled again. She hadn't thought that far ahead. Fixing it felt overwhelming. I don't know if I want it cut short," she confessed. "It feels weird." Seagal kneeled slightly so he could look her in the eyes. "We'll do whatever makes you feel comfortable, not what anyone else decides." Alyssa exhaled shakily. She nodded. The students rallied behind Alyssa. Suddenly, Mia stepped forward. "Mrs. Caldwell, can we do something for Alyssa?" Caldwell raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Mia turned to the students. "We should all take a stand. For her, and for everyone who's ever felt bullied or humiliated." Students murmured in agreement. Josh, the boy in the hoodie, stepped up. "A poster. A message. Something that says we're with her." Another student added, "Let's write notes or messages on the wall, or make a video supporting her." Even teachers nodded. Mrs. Caldwell offered a small smile. "Whatever positive action you take, the district will support it." Alyssa looked around at all the faces, some familiar, some not, and felt a warmth spreading through her chest. She had walked into school that morning feeling invisible. Now students she barely knew were standing with her. For the first time since the incident, she smiled, small, trembling, but real. A quiet moment with her father. As the students planned, the crowd thinned. Seagal stepped back, observing Alyssa as she spoke quietly with Mia and a few other friends. Mrs. Caldwell approached him again. "Mr. Seagal, I assure you, this will be handled thoroughly." Seagal nodded. "I appreciate that." Caldwell paused. "Your presence today helped her more than you know." He sighed. "I just wish I could have been here before it happened." "You're here now," Caldwell said gently. "And that matters." Seagal looked at Alyssa, smiling through tears as her classmates hugged her. "Yes," he said quietly, "it does." But the story wasn't over yet, because outside the school, several reporters were gathering, and by evening, the entire world would know what Principal Harrow had done. By the time Steven Seagal and Alyssa stepped outside the school building, the quiet afternoon had transformed into a storm of flashing cameras and urgent voices. News vans lined the sidewalk, microphones were raised high, and reporters rushed forward like a wave breaking on the shore. Mia gasped, "Oh my God, they're everywhere." Alyssa instinctively held her father's hand tighter, shrinking behind him. Seagal's body shifted, calm but alert, protective in a way only a father could be. "Mr. Seagal, is it true the principal assaulted your daughter? What are your demands after this incident? Will you be pressing charges? Can we see Alyssa's haircut?" The questions overlapped into chaos. Seagal lifted one hand, and somehow the crowd quieted, not fully, but enough. "I will speak shortly," he said, voice steady. "But my daughter is shaken. Please give her space." Several reporters lowered their microphones, sensing the seriousness in his tone. Others leaned in even more. Alyssa pressed her face into his sleeve, overwhelmed. She had never been in front of such attention before. But this moment wasn't about attention. It was about truth. Mrs. Caldwell stepped outside behind them and faced the cameras with firm resolve. "The district has already taken action," she announced. "Principal Harrow is suspended pending a full investigation. We are reviewing student testimonies, video evidence, and school policy violations." Reporters scribbled frantically. Caldwell continued, "On behalf of the district, we want to express our deepest regret to Alyssa and the Seagal family. No student should ever experience what she endured today." Students watching from windows erupted in applause. Seagal finally speaks. A hush fell when Seagal stepped forward. Alyssa stayed close but lifted her chin slightly, still frightened, but braver than a few hours ago. "My daughter," Seagal began, "is a strong, kind, disciplined young girl. She respects people. She respects rules. She never caused trouble. Today, a school authority abused her power and humiliated my child." Flashes went off rapidly, but his voice stayed calm in a way that felt even more powerful than anger. "This is not just about Alyssa," he continued. "This is about every child who has been bullied by someone meant to protect them. This is about adults who forget that their job is to guide, not to dominate." He looked directly into the nearest camera. "No one, no teacher, no principal, no adult, has the right to touch a child without consent, especially not out of anger." Reporters froze, waiting for more. "She cut part of my daughter's identity," Seagal said softly. "But she did not break her spirit." Alyssa's grip tightened around his hand. He looked down at her with a gentle smile. "And I will make sure," he finished, "that she never faces something like this again." The reporters erupted with questions, but Seagal placed a hand over his heart, signaling he was done. He had said enough. Inside the school, chaos continues. Meanwhile, inside the building, Principal Harrow stumbled out of her office with a box containing her belongings. Her eyes were red, her face pale, and her hands trembling. Security walked beside her. Teachers watched from a distance. Not one approached her. Students watched too, some recording, some whispering, others staring silently. For the first time in her career, Harrow walked the hallways without authority, without fear, without control. As she reached the front doors, the sound of reporters outside grew louder. She hesitated, dread filling her chest. "Exit is this way," the security guard said. Her last shred of dignity dissolved the moment the cameras swung toward her. Reporters rushed. "Mrs. Harrow, did you cut a student's hair? Are you going to apologize? What do you say about the allegations of abuse?" Harrow shielded her face, voice cracking. No comment. She hurried into her car and sped away, tires screeching. The crowd watched her go, some in anger, some in disbelief, and others with relief. By the time Seagal and Alyssa reached their car, videos had already spread across social media. Footage of the haircut, footage of Seagal confronting the principal, footage of Harrow's walk of shame. Within minutes, hashtags began trending. Hashtag Justice for Alyssa. Hashtag Protect Our Kids. Hashtag Hair is not the enemy. Hashtag Seagal speaks. Alyssa's phone buzzed nonstop. Text messages from cousins, classmates, even people she didn't know offering support. Mia held up her own phone. "Alyssa, your story already has 500,000 views." Alyssa blinked, stunned. "I didn't want all this attention." Seagal opened the car door for her. "Sometimes," he said gently, "attention brings change." When they finally sat inside the SUV, Alyssa leaned her head on her father's shoulder. "Dad, do you think people will look at me differently now?" she whispered. He turned to her, brushing a strand of uneven hair away from her face. "They'll look at you," he said softly, "and see strength." Alyssa didn't respond immediately, but her breathing steadied. She wasn't crying anymore. She was healing. "Can we fix my hair tomorrow?" she asked shyly. "Yes," he said, "but only how you want it." She nodded. "Okay." By nightfall, news channels would replay the footage. Talk shows would discuss it. Celebrities would comment. Parents across the country would demand answers. And the school district would be forced to take action far beyond a suspension. Because Steven Seagal was not done fighting. Not yet. By the time evening settled over the city, the story had spread far beyond the school, far beyond the district, far beyond anything Alyssa could have imagined. News anchors debated it on national television. Articles appeared online by the minute. Parents demanded answers. Celebrities voiced support. Millions of people watched the videos with disbelief and anger. But inside the Seagal home, things were quiet. Alyssa sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket, her uneven hair falling softly around her shoulders. She looked tired, emotionally drained, but no longer broken. Her father sat beside her, calm and watchful, like a guardian who refused to let the world touch her again. The doorbell rang. Alyssa tensed. Seagal stood up immediately. "I'll check." When he opened the door, Mrs. Caldwell stood outside, holding a folder. Behind her was a district security officer. "We came in person," Caldwell said, "because this couldn't wait." Seagal stepped aside and allowed them in. Caldwell sat across from Alyssa, her eyes soft and sincere. "Sweetheart, I wanted to give you the final update myself." Alyssa nodded nervously. Caldwell took a breath. "The district board held an emergency meeting. We reviewed every video, every testimony, every piece of evidence." She paused, then spoke clearly. "We have decided to terminate Principal Harrow's employment, effective immediately." Alyssa's eyes widened. Mia, who had come over after school, gasped softly on the couch. "She will also lose her state administrative license," Caldwell continued, "which means she cannot work as a principal or any school authority anywhere in the state again." Alyssa's lips parted. She can't hurt anyone else." Caldwell smiled warmly. "No, honey, she can't." Seagal exhaled, the first sign of relief he'd shown all day. Caldwell placed the folder on the table. "This contains a public statement from the district. It formally apologizes to your family and announces strict new guidelines to prevent anything like this from happening again." She handed it to Seagal. "We will also be implementing mandatory training for all staff on student rights, boundaries, and respect," she added. Alyssa's shoulders loosened. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," Caldwell said gently. "Thank yourself. You spoke up. You were brave. You helped protect kids you don't even know." Alyssa looked down, shy but proud. That night, the district's statement went public. Comments flooded in. This should never happen to a child. Proud of Alyssa for standing up. Respect to Steven Seagal for handling this with dignity. Celebrities shared messages of support. Students from other schools posted videos talking about similar abuses, thanking Alyssa for inspiring them to speak. The hashtag Justice for Alyssa crossed 10 million views before midnight. Alyssa stared at the screen in disbelief. "Dad, all these people are talking about me?" Seagal smiled softly. "They're talking about what you survived and what you taught them." The next morning, Seagal took Alyssa to a quiet, private salon before opening hours. The stylist, a gentle woman with silver-streaked hair, greeted her warmly. "You're safe here, sweetheart," she said. Alyssa sat in the chair, staring at herself in the mirror. The uneven ends reminded her of the fear, the humiliation, but also the strength she found. "Do you want it cut short?" the stylist asked softly, "or shaped into something new?" Alyssa thought for a long moment. Then she smiled. "New." As the stylist trimmed and shaped, strand by strand, Alyssa slowly transformed, not into someone different, but into someone stronger, someone healed. When the stylist finished, Alyssa looked at her reflection and gasped. Her hair was shorter, layered, beautiful. "Do you like it?" Seagal asked. Alyssa nodded. "I love it." She hugged him tightly. Later that afternoon, Steven Seagal made a final public statement. He didn't blame. He didn't attack. He didn't gloat. He simply said, "No child should ever fear the people meant to protect them." Stand with your kids. Listen to them. Protect them. Because when they feel safe, they become unstoppable. The message went viral instantly. When Alyssa returned to school the next week, students greeted her not with pity, but with admiration. Notes of kindness decorated the hallway. A big banner hung above the lockers. "We stand with Alyssa." She smiled, tears in her eyes. This time, happy ones. Mia linked her arm with hers. "Ready?" Alyssa nodded. "Ready." And with her father's strength behind her and the world's support around her, she stepped into a new beginning. Braver, brighter, and stronger than ever.